G'day. I'd like to read for you a short story by Bradbury. This was written in 1950 and is called There Will Come Soft Rains. This story is set in the year 2026. In the living room, the voice clock sang, "Tick-tock, 7 o'clock, time to get up, 7 o'clock." As if it were afraid that nobody would. The morning house lay empty. The clock ticked on, repeating and repeating its sounds into the emptiness. 7-9, breakfast time, 7-9. In the kitchen, the breakfast stove gave a hissing sigh and ejected from its warm interior 8 pieces of perfectly brown toast, 8 eggs, sunny side up, 16 slices of bacon, 2 coffees and 2 cool glasses of milk. "Today is August 4th, 2026, said a voice from the kitchen ceiling, "in the city of Allendale, California." It repeated the date 3 times for memory's sake. "Today is Mr. Featherton's birthday. Today is the anniversary of Talita's marriage. Insurance is payable, as are the water, gas and light bills." Somewhere in the walls, relays clicked, memory tapes glided under electric eyes. 8-1 tick-tock, 8-1 o'clock. Off to school, off to work, run, 8-1. But no doors slammed, no carpets took the soft tread of rubber heels. It was raining outside. The weather box on the front door sang quietly, "Rain, rain, go away, umbrellas, raincoats today." And the rain tapped on the empty house, echoing. Outside, the garage chimed and lifted its door to reveal the waiting car. After a long wait, the door swung down again. At 8:30, the eggs were shriveled and the toast was like stone. An aluminium wedge scraped them into the sink, where hot water whirled them down a metal throat which digested and flushed them away to the distant sea. The dirty dishes were dropped into hot water and emerged twinkling dry. 9:15, sang the clock. "Time to clean." Out of warrens in the wall, tiny robot mice darted. The rooms were a-crawl with the small cleaning animals, all rubber and metal. They thudded against chairs, whirling them as starched runners, kneading the rug nap, sucking gently at hidden dust. Then, like mysterious invaders, they popped back into their burrows. Their pink electric eyes faded. The house was clean. 10 o'clock, the sun came out from behind the rain. The house stood alone in a city of rubble and ashes. This was the one house still standing. At night, the ruined city gave off a radioactive glow which could be seen for miles. 10:15. The water sprinklers whirled up in golden founts, filling the soft morning air with scatterings of brightness. The water pelted window panes, running down the charred west side where the house had been burned evenly free of its white paint. The entire west face of the house was black, save for 5 places. Here, the silhouette and paint of a man mowing a lawn. Here, as in a photograph, a woman bent to pick flowers. Still farther over, the images burned in wood in one titanic instant. A small boy, hands flung in the air. Higher up, the image of a thrown ball. And opposite him, a girl, hands raised to catch a ball which never came down. The 5 spots of paint, the man, the woman, the children, the ball, remained. The rest was a thin charcoal layer. The gentle sprinkler rain filled the garden with falling light. Until this day, how well the house had kept its peace. How carefully it had inquired, "Who goes there? What's the password?" And getting no answer from lonely foxes and whining cats, it had shut up its windows and drawn shades in an old maidenly preoccupation with self-preservation which bordered on a maniacal paranoia. It quivered at each sound the house did. If a sparrow brushed a window, the shade snapped up. The bird, startled, flew off. No, not even a bird must touch this home. 12 noon. A dog whined, shivering, on the front porch. The front door recognised the dog voice and opened. The dog, once huge and fleshy, was now gone to bone and covered with sores, moved in and through the house, tracking mud. Behind it whirred angry mice, angry at having to pick up mud, angry at inconvenience. For not a leaf fragment blew under the door but what the wall panels flipped open and the copper scrap rats flashed swiftly out. The offending dust, hair or paper, seized in miniature steel jaws, was raced back to the burrows. There, down tubes which fed into a cellar, it was dropped into a sighing vent of an incinerator which sat like evil Baal in a dark corner. The dog ran upstairs, hysterically yelping to each door, at last realising, as the house realised, that only silence was here. It sniffed the air and scratched the kitchen door. Behind the door, the stove was making pancakes, which filled the house with a rich baked odour and the scent of maple syrup. The dog frothed at the mouth, lying at the door sniffling, its eyes turned to fire. It ran wildly in circles, biting at its tail, spun in a frenzy, and died. It lay in the parlour for an hour. 2 o'clock, sang a voice. Delicately sensing decay at last, the regiments of mice hummed out as softly as blown grey leaves in an electrical wind. 2:15. The dog was gone. In the cellar, the incinerator glowed suddenly, and a whirl of sparks leapt up the chimney. 2:35. Bridge tables sprouted from the patio walls. Playing cards fluttered onto pads in a shower of pips. Martinis manifested on an oaken bench with egg salad sandwiches. Music played. But the tables were silent and the cards untouched. At 4 o'clock the tables folded like great butterflies back through the panelled walls. 4:30. The nursery glowed. Animals took shape. Yellow giraffes, blue lions, pink antelopes, like panthers cavorting in crystal substance. The walls were glass. They looked out upon colour and fantasy. Hidden films clocked through well-oiled sprockets, and the walls lived. The nursery floor was woven to resemble a crisp cereal meadow. Over this ran aluminium roaches and iron crickets, and in the hot, still air, butterflies of delicate red tissue wavered among the sharp aroma of animal spores. There was the sound like the great matted yellow hive of bees within a dark bellows, the lazy bumble of a purring lion, and there was the patter of a carpy feet and the murmur of a fresh jungle rain, like other hooves falling on the summer-starched grass. Now the walls dissolved into distances of parched grass, mile on mile, and warm, endless sky. The animals drew away into thorn breaks and waterholes. It was the children's hour. 5 o'clock. The bath filled with clear hot water. 6, 7, 8 o'clock. The dinner dishes manipulated like magic tricks, and in the study a click. In the metal stand opposite the hearths, where a fire now blazed up warmly, a cigar popped out, half an inch of soft grey ash on it, smoking and waiting. 9 o'clock. The beds warmed their hidden circuits, for nights were cool here. 9:05. A voice spoke from the study ceiling. "Mrs. McClellan, which poem would you like this evening?" The house was silent. The voice said, at last, "Since you express no preference, I shall select a poem at random." Quiet music rose to back the voice. "Sarah Teasdale, as I recall, your favourite." There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. No one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone. The fire burned on the stone hearth, and the cigar fell away into a mound of quiet ash on its tray. The empty chairs faced each other between the silent walls, and the music played. At 10 o'clock, the house began to die. The wind blew. A falling tree bough crashed through the kitchen window. Cleaning solvent bottled shattered onto the stove. The room was ablaze in an instant. "Fire!" screamed a voice. The house lights flashing, water pumps shot water from the ceilings, but the solvent spread on the linoleum, licking, eating under the kitchen door, while the voices took it up in chorus. "Fire! Fire! Fire!" The house tried to save itself. Doors sprang tightly shut, but the windows were broken by the heat, and the wind blew and sucked upon the fire. The house gave ground as the fire and 10 billion angry sparks moved with flaming case from room to room, to room to room, and up the stairs, while scurrying water rats squeaked from the walls, pistoled their water and ran for more, and the wall sprays let down showers of mechanical rain. But too late. Somewhere, sighing, a pump shrugged to a stop. The quenching rain ceased. The reserve water supply, which had filled baths and washed dishes for many quiet days, was gone. The fire crackled up the stairs. It fed upon Picassos and Matisses in the upper halls like delicacies, baking off the oily flesh, tenderly crisping the canvases into black shavings. Now the fire lay in beds, stood in windows, changed the colour of drapes. And then reinforcements. From attic trapdoors, blind robot faces peered down with four-set mouths, gushing green chemical. The fire backed off as an elephant even must at the sight of a dead snake. Now there were 20 snakes whipping over the floor, killing the fire with a clear, cold venom of green froth. But the fire was clever. It had sent flame outside the house, up through the attic to the pumps there. An explosion! The attic brain which directed the pumps was shattered into bronze shrapnel on the beams, and the fire rushed back into every closet and felt the clothes that hung there. The house shuddered, oak bone on bone, its bared skeleton cringing from the heat, its wire, its nerves revealed as if a surgeon had torn the skin off to let the red veins and capillaries quiver in the scalded air. "Help! Help! Fire! Run! Run!" Heat snapped windows like a first brittle winter ice, and the voices wailed, "Fire! Fire! Run! Run!" like a tragic nursery rhyme, a dozen voices, high, low, like children dying in a forest, alone, alone. And the voices, finding as the wires popped their sheathings like hot chestnuts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the voices died. In the nursery, the jungle burned. Blue lions roared, pink giraffes bounded off, the panthers run in circles, changing colour, and 10 million animals, running before the fire, vanished off towards a distant steaming river. 10 more voices died. In the last instant, under the fire avalanche, other choruses oblivious could be heard announcing the time, cutting the lawn by remote control mower, or setting an umbrella frantically out and in, the slamming and opening front door, 1,000 things happening, like a clock shop when each clock strikes the hour insanely before or after the other, a scene of maniac confusion, yet unity, singing, screaming, a few last cleaning mice, darting bravely out to carry the horrid ashes away. And one voice, with sublime disregard for the situation, read poetry aloud in the fiery study, until all the film spools burned, until all the wires withered and the circuits cracked. The fire burst the house and let it slam flat down, puffing out skirts of spark and smoke. In the kitchen, an instant before the fire, the rain of fire and timber, the stove could be seen making breakfast at a psychopathic rate. 10 dozen eggs, 6 loaves of toast, 20 dozen bacon strips, which, eaten by fire, started the stove working again, hysterically hissing. The crash. The attic smashing into the kitchen and parlour, the parlour into the cellar, cellar into sub-cellar. Deep freeze, armchair, film tapes, circuits, beds, and all like skeletons thrown into a clustered mound deep under. Smoke and silence. A great quantity of smoke. Dawn showed faintly in the east. Among the ruins, one wall stood alone. Within the wall, a last voice said, over and over again and again and again, even as the sun rose to shine upon the heaped rubble and the steam. Today is August the 5th, 2026. Today is August the 5th, 2026. Today is August the 5th, 2026.